G'day, Doggies fans. All things Bulldogs. Going to do a little preview. Got some time to kill. I've got a big drive ahead of me, so I'll do some chatting. I won't answer too many questions if any pop up. I do need to concentrate on the road, but just going to give my thoughts on tomorrow's game. We're nearly 24 hours out. They should reduce that team size to 19 players in an hour or two. I've just got this feeling Sexton might make an appearance. And look, as a result, on the All Things Bulldogs Facebook page, if you want to comment here as well, I've put up another little competition for to name the side that Serrano comes up with that plays on tomorrow's game, because I've just got a feeling there'll be a couple of changes. But it may or may not happen. But Max King's expected to start. G'day to everyone who's out there. Say hello if you like. Looks like I've got some really bad bloody traffic anyway, so I'm going to be stuck in traffic for a while. Heading back down from Sunshine Coast area, back over the bridge. So yes, it's looking like a really crunch game. That's an obvious statement. Bulldogs are in a situation where we must win to keep our finals chances alive. Even if you think we're not really in that conversation, the players, I'm sure, believe a lot, and a lot more fans are starting to believe in what these boys are capable of. As soon as you sort of lose too many games, you can sort of fall out of contention and lose belief. Seems like there's a bit of belief there at the moment, and that's really, really good, and that's what we want to keep building on. I'm expecting Max King will play. As once he was named, I thought, just based on his history as a Bulldog, he's been very hard to not select him even with injuries. He's just kept on turning up and playing through the pain, and I'm sure that's what he's trying to do on Sunday against the Knights. The Knights don't have Dom Young this year. They don't have Fitzgibbon. There's no Frizzell this week. They've got a few new combinations. They now got Hastings and Clogger, which I think are a good halves combo. Well, they're a good steady combo anyway. And I expect that they're going to be very tough to beat. Kalen Ponga, he suffered a bit of a hip flexor last week. Do forgive me if this does drop out when you're watching this. I have no idea of knowing. Seems to be going all right at the moment. So hopefully he's, Billy Army Kickow's running at him all day. That would be good. But he's, as a fullback, you're not going to... Hopefully we're busting through Jack Cogger there. I think Jack plays on the right. I'm not sure who plays on the left or right. When it comes to the Knights, sorry, I haven't really done that homework. But I expect that Billy Army Kickout is going to give whoever's out on those edges a tough time. And hopefully we get to see Kalen Ponga one-on-one with Billy Army Kickout a couple of times. We can't do that every week, you know what I mean? You can't expect that big kicks is going to be, making breaks down the edge like he has been every single week. And I'm sure that right edge will be looking a little bit stronger and tougher and a bit more cohesive this week for us. So we might see them have a few more cracks at the opposition. But just that left edge with the variation they've got there, Burton's licking his lips. It seems to go well when Hutchison goes to the left-hand side. He seems to play better as well. I'm just watching him. He really struggles, I think, on that right edge. It's probably the weakest part of his game. Like, all of his effort areas are fantastic. The way he's constantly, and obviously the defensive talk and the leadership around the communication is good, and that's why he's in the team, and he's always there in support. Been impressed with Burton in that regard as well, and both fullbacks, Blake Taff and Tracy, since he's got there. Crichton's doing a lot of support runs, a lot of decoy runs. There's lots of effort areas there, and that's what the coaches are looking at. There's players there making lots of tackles that are the first man into those tackles. It's not just getting their numbers up, which you see with some players. And there's lots of attempted tackles. Look, our ineffective tackle rate is quite high, but the number one ineffective tackling team is the Penrith Panthers, and it's more of a case of the pressure that they put on to try and get things, to put teams under pressure, and I talk about it a fair bit. So these stats that we're looking at aren't always, but a lot of the time, you can be guaranteed the coaches aren't looking at those things, which is where, as fans, we can sort of improve our horizons a little bit and open our eyes up a little bit, because we get stuck in the Supercoach stats because we want them to get certain scores and things like that. A lot of people are playing Supercoach these days, Fantasy League, and looking for the stats. I like to go through them as well. They do give you some indicators, but they don't tell you how much effort someone's actually putting into a match and how well they're following the game plan. If you've got a half there that's throwing early ball and getting the ball out wide, it's not necessarily going to show up in too many stats. But one thing you'll see is that on those left-hand plays, often they've gone better when we've had, Marnie, Hutchison, another, the lock involved, and Burton, before it even gets out to the big kicks and the centre out there. So they're getting a lot more hands on the ball, a lot more people running around the ball. And the support play, I think, is working well for us, and I think it's helping us to do a little bit better in the ruck. I also think that with the ball, we're not as predictable, and we're getting a bit of, how should I say it? We're getting more, we're doing better in the play the ball speed and with the ball. The post contact's not there, but we're getting up quick and playing the ball, which is helping. It still needs to improve. It will help with more bigger bodies in our side, but for the team that we've got, the players that they're picking, which are all working hard, doing a good job. Bellamy sort of summed it up well, that the coaches, the team's playing well with the players that's in the side, that they're playing a game plan which is very effective and very competitive. And that's sort of where we're at. That's the foundation that's being laid, and that's what needs to happen in order for us to progress. With Newcastle, I think they are vulnerable at this point. I think they've got a lot of players in their squad which that demonstrate a lot of effort. Newcastle Knight, his effort. Look, I think we really need to have a good game tomorrow. I'm expecting as much. I'm also waiting for the game where we sort of don't do as much defensively. What I mean is where they sort of have a bit of a letdown. I'm waiting for that game to appear. But in saying that, at the same time, I don't think we've really put forward a really solid 80-minute performances for a very long time, and not even this year. So, with that being said, hopefully tomorrow's the game where we put it all together before the bye and really go into that bye with a lot of confidence before we come back against the West Tigers and then the Panthers, which I'm looking forward to both of those matches. Tyson Brazil's a big out for the Knights. He's been their best player, I believe. He's one who's been working the hardest, doing the big runs. Their forward pack is huge. We've got to keep getting numbers into the tackle. But see, that's one thing where we're vulnerable. And if teams are smart, and I think Kalen Pong is pretty smart, you'll see those players and their halves will both test Canterbury out with their running game. But then what you'll see is that I think there'll be a lot of short passes trying to expose us on the fringe through the middle. And I think that's where Canterbury are vulnerable, because we are putting in a lot of effort to get numbers into the tackle. Our line speed's really good. And Kalen Ponga doesn't mind when people rush up on him either. So that's something we've got to be really worried about. It's going to come down to not only executing well in defence, but also making sure that they're, just using their brains and being smart about it. Offloads are something which the Newcastle side are quite capable of as well. And, there's a bit of unknown around Piers Paul and that sort of stuff, the Pommy imports that they've got. Hard to handle, want to prove themselves in the NRL. I think they're not fully wound up yet. But if you watch Newcastle that first 15, 20 minutes against the Roosters, they looked on that day. And if they can do that for 60, 70 minutes against any side, they're going to be hard to beat. So whilst there's a lot of noise around the Bulldogs, basically, although we're not favourites on tab, it's a flip of the coin. But many people are confident that the Bulldogs are one of the best bets of this weekend, and that worries me. I want to be positive, but it's hard to be positive being a Canterbury fan the last 6 or 7 years. We really need this win. It's such a congested ladder. You can see by the amount of upsets every week that it's such a close competition. I feel most sides have improved. People will talk about Parramatta, but they're a much better side with Mitchell Moses. They're also a much better side when they're not playing in 34-degree heat. The Dolphins, Bennett and that picked all these little guys that just ran through them in that second half. And I love watching it. I love watching Parramatta get flogged, so that was good. The other big upset, the Dragons and the Warriors. The Warriors went out there with their same sort of, they were completing at about 80-85%. They were just doing their thing. I felt we're a little bit cocky, a little bit too patient at times. And the Dragons have a very balanced side, full of fucking size and power, and have got a lot to prove. And, they've got a coach who knows how to coach. And they're doing what they should be doing, and that's winning football matches, especially at home. Last year, before the Warriors went on their run, even with the side the Warriors had out there today, you would have thought, the Dragons line up really well against them. They've had a good season, the Warriors, and they're going from strength to strength. But I feel they disrespected the Dragons a little bit. Didn't respect them enough, and the Dragons had a really good victory at home at Wynn Stadium, and that's the whole thing. These teams are basically playing at a level now where they're hard to beat. You've got to you play these teams at home. It's such a close competition. Every team has to do all the little things right, but also play without fear as well. And it's such a close competition. I said last year it was the closest best 17s I've seen on paper to start the season. Obviously, it didn't turn out that way. This year, I feel most sides have improved. I don't feel the Titans have. And obviously, South Sydney are really, really struggling. But for the majority of sides, they look a lot better. And that's the reason why we've got a lot of different results week in, week out. And that's why you've got to get these wins. So our boys, 2 and 4, this will make us 3 and 4. If we can get this win up, I expect it's going to be a close game. It's going to be another heart stopper. All these teams that have been playing each other have been so close on the scoreboard. The Knights and the Roosters was close. We were close to Melbourne. Melbourne and Roosters were close again on the weekend. You know, but then when you look at it again, did any team look like they could dominate 26-0 against another side after 40 minutes like the Roosters? And that's another point we got to raise. Can we go out there and whack 4 tries on Newcastle and put them under the pump? I think we can. I really do. I like the balance of our back line. I like the balance of Connor Tracy at fullback. We still might see Blake Tapp. You know, you got to take Cameron Serrano with a bit of a grain of salt. Our guys play the media pretty well. There's been quite a lot of times where the media questions have talked about stuff and there hasn't even gone near that in the game. But I'd suggest that Tapp's coming off the bench. I don't think they're going to have 2 small players on the bench again. It's you know, the good thing is the likes of Sam Hughes are starting to get some miles in their legs, and we'll see. And Pawasa really looked to enjoy coming off the bench last week. Be interesting to see if Curran starts or doesn't start. I think if King plays, I think only one of those 2 will start the game. I think it's important that we have, you know, if Max King's going to start, I think Curran will come off the bench and vice versa. But I could be wrong. They might want to go out there and make a statement and get things happening early with King and Curran and have a Sam Hughes or Boas to start or Patolo. Someone's going to drop out of the side though. I think Shorty Moran will definitely be there. He'll be refreshed, ready to go forward. And I think our best chance is to keep doing what we've been doing. Getting early ball to players, utilising our speed in that back line to make ground. Now, one thing when I used to watch Desi Hasler and all the teams under 20 from 2012 to 14, Canterbury through that whole period were very good at utilising their back line to make ground out of their own end, and not just through hard hit up, but through some enterprise. The amount of times Josh Morris would, you know, make a 20-metre run down the left-hand edge from his own 20-metre line to help get us out of yardage used to be phenomenal. And sometimes they turned it into a length of the field a bit. It was always been a Canterbury thing that I've seen, and I haven't seen enough of it in the last 5 or 6 years. And we got to see a bit of it last week. That try to the Fox, the first one was phenomenal, and it all came off effort. That effort of Connor Tracy in his in goal, and then getting the ball out to Karaz and a nice cramping run, couple of quick play the balls, spread it left, and it was just beautiful to watch. And I can't wait for us to make seeing that being a consistent part of our play. And it wasn't against anyone; it was against the Melbourne Storm. And while I don't rate them as being the same sort of, like, they've got a big ceiling and they haven't hit it yet, and they're still winning games, which makes them dangerous. I think their forward pack's got a lot of improvement, but it's still the Storm. They were all there. There was every time we made those breaks, there was still 5, 6, 7 Storm players chasing. You know, they didn't give up. We had to beat them. We had to get around them, and we did. And you know, and what? How did we lose the game? Couple of poor efforts. In plays leading up to that. Missed tackles in the middle, bit of fatigue, and then, you know, one of our players didn't show up for his assignment. So that was the difference between the two teams in the end of the match. So in wrapping it up, guys, in my thoughts in this prediction, I think Canterbury 1-12 is probably going to be one of the most safe. It will probably going to be one of the most popular bets. Some people think Canterbury are going to do a number on the night. It's a redemption game. It's a revenge game. We owe them a big fucking performance. For that reason, I think they know we're coming, and I think it sets up to be a really strong battle out there. And I don't think any team's going to be giving up or giving in at any point. I think it'll be an 80-minute performance from both sides, and maybe one of the games of the round. Hopefully for us, we could just have a nice, easy victory that we get to enjoy. I'd love that. But because we've had some tough games and we've had some lessons we've had to learn, and hopefully we've learned some of those lessons and can put it into practice against the Knights. I think, like, if you're looking at try scorers and all that sort of thing, obviously both wingers for Canterbury, for both sides, I think there's joy to be had down the edges, and I'd be looking at edge back rowers for points as well. Depending on, you know, it is a 2 p.m. game. That's where the little men can come into play as well. So I'll be looking to see you know, they've got Crossland and Brayley, which they'll use both of them, and that could be an advantage for them. Depending who we've got in that could be a huge thing for Canterbury as long as he's utilised. If Cameron Serrato just keeps him on the bench until the last 7 minutes, when we're 6 to 10 points behind, you know what I mean? That's really making it hard for a player like do something. And I saw it too often. You know, the game would be gone and he'd bring on the 14 at the end of the match. I'm like, why not utilise them to spark something earlier? And hopefully we'll see that from Serrato if that is required. I think when the heat's right, it's the hottest part of the day, 2 p.m. When the lungs start filling up and they're really struggling to breathe, those forwards, that's when we've got to bring a player like Blake Tapp on to take advantage of it. I still have this feeling Sexton's going to play and Hutchinson's going to move to that 13 role. And I think he'll handle that quite well. He's definitely big enough and his communication's there, and he'll be able to still get involved and do what he needs to do from that position. But it probably won't happen, but I've just got this feeling. We'll see how that turns out. I'm expecting Canterbury 1-12, probably around, I reckon 24 to 16, something like that would be the type of scoreline. Under 45 points. I don't know what the lines are or anything like that. You could take either team with the start and you're getting pretty much the same value as you are in the head-to-head, so you wouldn't even worry about taking the start. Canterbury, look, they're giving us a reason to believe, a reason to hope, and a reason to think that they can beat the Knights this weekend. We're all scared of Caleb Ponga and that forward pack of theirs. Their front rowers are potentially, one of the best packs in the comp. I think Tyson Frizzell's is huge out, as I said. So he definitely adds to that. And they got some young players on the bench now who are obviously fight for their careers and want to be a part of Newcastle's future, and also probably want to showcase themselves for other sides, because these forwards with experience are just like gold at the moment for teams. So everyone, I'm just seeing great effort from most sides most weeks. I'm really seeing players come on and give it 100%. I've been pretty impressed with the standard of football for most sides this year, and I expect nothing different on the weekend. So that's pretty much all I've got to say about it. I think the Dogs won to 12. I think our wingers are going to have going to continue to enjoy some success, depending on the conditions and that. But yeah, if Canterbury keep doing all those things they've been doing, all the support plays, and Gus summed that sort of stuff up well the other day, just in closing. And this is stuff that I've talked about a bit myself, and people, I've been to motivational speakers with and watched with different coaches and different things, read a lot of books, and the only thing they look at is effort. All coaches are pretty much the same in that regard. They're not worried about all these stats and stuff. They're worried about the effort areas. And one thing Gus was saying was, like, with support plays, a player might run a support 25 times in a match and never get the ball. But every time, if they do that 25 times a match, they're setting up other areas for the team, because the defensive line won't commit the third or fourth player into a tackle if they can see that there's that player in support, because they've got to watch him, which means sometimes they don't commit as strong. And eventually, as they get tired, this is where they open up, and these are where the opportunities come. And that support player might not get the ball, but the person with it might get a quick play of the ball, or they might get a quick pass away. And these are sort of areas which don't have stats really attached to them. They do have support now as a stat, but it's these parts of the game. It's about how each of these collective efforts of the players, all the decoy runs that you'll see, like the Crichtons and the Currans and Blake Tapp and Tracy and all these players, they're constantly running decoys and putting themselves next to the player with the ball. And what that is doing is really setting it up for their team to break the opposition down. And that is why we can't be so obsessed with all these stats that we see. It's all about the effort plays, and that's what the coaches are looking for. That's why the players like Drew Hutchison are in the side, because they're constantly getting back to 10 metres to make the tackles. They're constantly working themselves to a standstill. They're talking all the time. They're constantly in support of each other. And whilst they might not execute some things well, I have a couple of areas in their game which still need to improve on. It's all these effort areas, which is why they're being picked. And for a player to replace them, they have to be not only demonstrating they're doing all the effort stuff, but also got the ability to execute as well. And that's some of the stuff we don't necessarily see coming through reserve grade and all that sort of stuff. So we've got to trust the coach, trust the coaching team, trust the club, and then trust the players to get it right on the day. And I think we've got some players putting some pressure on these guys in first grade, which is good. And it's a good thing if the coach suddenly has 20 players that he's like, all of these are in my best 17, but he can't fit them all in, So that's the situation we want to be in. Anyway, guys, feel free to have a listen to this at any time. Say hello. Check out, if you want to name your side for tomorrow that you think will be the team, go for it. The person who gets closest, or the people who name the side, can win some merch, which I'm happy to send your way. So and I'll give you what you can choose from once the winner's announced. I'll send you a message. But thanks for listening in, everyone. I appreciate it. Had a big drive ahead of me, so I thought, you know what, I'm going to get on there and chat about my favourite subject, which is the Bulldogs. Talk to a few of the people and see what other people have got to say. So thanks for listening in, and go the Dogs tomorrow. And good luck to all our junior side. All of them in the top four. SG Ball, Harold Matz, Lisa Viola, and Tasha Gale, all in the finals this week. And hopefully they can all get a win and get themselves through to the grand finals. That'd be fantastic. But if not, they've done a fantastic job already. And I can't wait to check out all the scores and see how they went and watch any footage that I can see. And if anyone is out there at the games, feel free to take photos. Feel free to provide match reports on what you saw and how people went, and post them on the All Things Bulldogs page. Or if you reach out to me on Messenger or anything like that, you can put up anything that you've got or can contribute to other Bulldogs fans. Feel free to do it at any time. All right, guys. It's Super Saturday. Tomorrow is an even more Super Sunday, I hope. And Canterbury erase those nightmares of last year, literally, and smash the fucking Newcastle Knights. Go the Dogs. See you, Scotty. Thanks for saying hello, brother.